welcome back to my channel. Today we have a little bit of a different video because it is basically the end of 2023. Today is like the 20th of December, so I thought I'd get ahead of scheduling and just film this video now. I know there's still a few days left of December and I could probably read another 5-star book, I guess, but generally speaking I'll just add that onto next year's TBR or rating. But today, as you've seen in the title or the thumbnail, today we're gonna be comparing my 5-star reads to my DNF. DNF means did not finish, so that's books that I just couldn't get through. I just put down either a few chapters in or even sometimes 150 pages in, and it's just not to my taste, so I decided to put it down. Shall we start? Yeah, let's start on a high. Let's start with my 5-star read. I only started like seriously reading heavily this year in like January. December was a good month for reading for me as well, but seriously only in January where I started filming like some reviews and stuff. Not the best content I've ever made, but it was a starting point and everybody needs to start somewhere. Yeah, I read some very random books. I didn't have a job at the time, so I was just using KU, which is Kindle Unlimited, and there's free books on there and I was downloading books like that. I could read some popular books that were available for free. I do have a job now for like the last 5 or 6 months. I've been working, even longer than that now. I want to say 7 months. Yeah, for 7 months now I've been working, and I do work away a lot, so content is sporadic, and that's why I'm trying to pre-film a lot of the videos. Starting with my 5-star reads, this is in no particular order as such, but my favorite book is at the end. Just put it that way. So I had 6 books this year that I rated 5-star. I think in the beginning I was very frivolous with it and I was just like, oh, I love that book, 5 stars. But the more I read, the more I actually read 68 books this year and my goal was 48. I got a little bit more fussy with my 5 stars, so it's not very easy to get a 5-star from me anymore. I need to like get that feeling, you know, that feeling you get inside and you just can't put the book down. You just think about the book all the time and you just get that feeling. So all of these books, with the exception of one, I got that feeling with. So starting with that one that I didn't get that feeling, but this is really a nostalgic book for me. So the first one is called Wonder. I'll add a picture obviously. Wonder by Rachel Vale, and I read this book when I was about 12 or 13 just from my local library, and it stuck with me for years, and my fiance actually tracked it down and he got me a copy of it. So I reread it this year, and again I still loved it. I still got that like nostalgic feeling, and I just couldn't rate it lower than a 5-star because I would recommend all kids like coming of age. It's more of like, I wouldn't say it's a young adult, it's more like a mid book, like it's kids from like 10, 11, 12 up that can read this book. And it's about this girl who I think her name was Jessica, and she is coming to age. She's 12 turning 13 years old. Her hormones are all over the place. She has crushes, and it just has a lot of little life lessons for little girls, like being bullied and how she conquered all of that. And yeah, it's just a very wholesome book, so I would definitely recommend if you have kids and if you can find the book. It's a very old, I think it was published in like 1997, but it stuck with me like for years, so I couldn't rate it any lower than that. Then moving on to a book I read very early on in the year, and it's very difficult to rate memoirs. Like I just feel like it's someone's actual story, so it's difficult for me. The only thing I could like criticize it on is grammar or spelling. Like some self-published books have spelling errors and stuff, and I had actually an incident like that where I commented on some grammar just on my notes, and I didn't realize your notes get sent to the author on Kindle Unlimited. Yeah, she actually came back and was really rude, so I just took the book completely off my list and I didn't want to mention it in this. But this is a memoir and it's called Spilled Milk. I can't say that. Spilled Milk by K.L. Brandes. Her name is Brooke. Sorry, I don't know why I kept saying Kelly, but she was sexually assaulted by her father and he made her hide it. And yeah, she went through a lot of abuse, and it's all depicted in this book. And yeah, it's not something I really want to talk about on my channel, but yeah, it was a really good book, really inspirational about how she came out on top. Yeah, I gave that 5 stars for sure. Next we have a Colleen Hoover book. I have reminders of him on my list because when I read that book, I sat down on the couch like it was a random Saturday afternoon or random Saturday morning. I just got on the couch, started reading maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and I could not put the book down. I read until it was finished, and I thought it was a good book. It gets a lot of like flack, and a lot of people dissect it and just do not appreciate what the book was about, but I thought it was amazing. So it's about this girl, I think her name's Kendra. It's, mind you, this is a long time ago and I'm just speaking from memory, and she was involved in like a horrific accident and accidentally killed her partner. She actually goes to jail for it, for manslaughter, because she ran away from the scene, and she was actually pregnant with his baby. After she gets out of jail, she kind of goes to live in the town where he grew up and where his parents are and where her daughter is, and she's like prepared to fight to see her daughter. All this time, like since she was in jail, since everything happened, she's been writing letters to him, but everybody thinks that she's all like cold and doesn't feel sorry about it, but she internalized a lot of her feelings, and it doesn't go well when she tries to contact his parents. They try and like pull away, but she ends up hooking up with like his childhood best friend, and she thinks that his name is Ledger, and he thinks that she's only with him to get closer to the kid. But yeah, it's a really good book, and at the end there's a happy ending, and yeah, I really loved the book. I couldn't put it down. I just wanted to know what happened, and I've mentioned in previous videos that I really like mixed media, so in there it's all her letters and stuff. So yeah, I really love that book, and it's still stuck with me to like today. Anyway, moving on to number 4, we have, which is a recent vlog, Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Loved that book. It was so magical, so whimsical. The way it was written was absolutely gorgeous, and I cannot wait to read the second book. I have it here, The Ballad of Never After. Can't wait to pick that up because it was very recent. I kind of remember what it was about, and it's about, what's her name now? Evangeline, and she kind of makes a deal with a fate, who is this mythical being, but they shouldn't really be trusted because they're quite conniving. She makes a deal with him to disrupt her stepsister's marriage or wedding, where she's getting married to Evangeline's boyfriend, but she's put him like under a spell or something, and he just doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know what's going on, but this fate double crosses her, and like he just, yeah, she agreed to something that she didn't agree to, and there's loads of events that happen. But it's like, while you're reading the book, it's in third person, which I hate, but love this. While you're reading it, it's like the narration of like Maleficent or Peter Pan. Like when you watch those olden day movies, there's the narration in the back and the action happening. That's what it felt like. It was so good. Again, with mixed media, it had like newspaper clippings, and I really loved that. And with all the magic, and I think I don't know, I haven't read the second book, but I think she's got something magical in her as well, but can't be sure. It wasn't depicted in the book. Jax is this mythical being because there's like all these fates. There's a few of them, and they all have certain abilities. Jax's ability is to kill people when he kisses them, because he's like sad, and he's like the depiction of like lost love. Really love that book. I don't think I did it justice right there, but hopefully you understand kind of what I'm talking about. But if any book out of this, I would recommend reading that, especially for the genre. If you're new to fantasy, I think that's a great starting point. The next on my list, I have Beautiful Graves by L.J. Shin. I cannot fully remember what the book is about, but it was kind of about this, I can't remember her name, it's eluded me. Let me try and look it up. Okay, her name is Evelyn. There we go. I read this book, like I said, early on in the year, so I don't fully remember, but I do remember some bits of it. So it's about Evelyn, who at the start of the book started off slow, by the way, but at the start of the book, her and her best friend, they go to Spain as like their vacation before college. So they both go there. She meets this guy, and he takes her virginity on the beach. No, he doesn't. I think it's like only her second guy she's ever slept with, but she meets this guy that do stuff on the beach and stuff, and yeah, and they promise to get into contact again, but they kind of have a long distance relationship. But then her mom passes away, but in a very horrific way, and she feels responsible for it. She moves out of town, doesn't see her father or her stepbrother. Like, she just wants nothing to do with anybody who knew her mother. Like, she kind of just wants to separate herself from everyone. But one day her cat goes missing, and she puts it up on Craigslist, and she gets a response. It's this guy named Dominic, and they just hit it off so well. Like, he's a doctor, he takes her on dates, and she really likes him, but there's just something missing. Anyway, he ends up taking her home for Christmas, and lo and behold, his brother is the guy that she met in Spain. So yeah, it follows through that story. It's like a little love triangle back and forth, and it's really good. Like, I really enjoyed it. It is one of the best books from LJ Shen that I've read. Then lastly on my list, surprise, surprise, Haunting Adeline. This book was amazing. It is one of my favorite dark romances. This was my first experience with real dark romance, and it was very dark. I absolutely loved it. This book was like over 500 pages and I read it in 2 days. Like, I was that obsessed with it. It was so good. The synopsis in the back is very, very vague, but it starts with Adeline, who is an author, and she's making her way up, and she's moved to a new town because her grandmother passed away. So she's moved into her grandmother's house, but no one wants her to stay there. Everybody thinks she should just sell the house because it's quite secluded, it's in the woods, and her mom just doesn't think it's the right choice, neither does her best friend. So she ends up just doing it, moving in there, slowly doing renovations, getting comfortable, but things start happening, and then it switched over to the next point of view, which is Zaid, and he is her shadow. So he's basically been stalking her since he saw her at her book signing, and he's just like completely infatuated with her and obsessed with her. So he starts like stalking her, and one night she like looks out the window and he's just standing there smoking a cigarette. The smut in it is so good. Like, it sounds weird saying that, but it's so good. The whole book was good. The sequel wasn't worth it at all, but yeah, if there's any character I wanted to meet, it would be Zaid Meadows. Like, he just seems so, yeah, I don't know. But he's one book character I would love to meet. But yeah, he is also part of like a ring where they kind of disassemble human trafficking rings and child trafficking rings. So he's like so good at what he does because he sneaks into places and like government officials and stuff like that, and pulls and weeds them out. So yeah, it's so interesting, and it's got so many different dimensions, and it's such a well thought out book with not just one angle, which is the stalking, but it's not just about that. It's very deep, yeah, I loved it. It's so good. Anyway, let's move on to my DNF. Okay, so I think this part will be a lot faster because I can't tell you exactly what the books are about because I didn't finish them. So I'm going to start from the bottom, and this is from the earliest stuff last year or this year, so starting from January and working my way down to the most recent. So the first book I ever DNF'd in this year was If We Ever Meet Again by Ana Huang. Me and Ana Huang, we just don't get on. I do not vibe very well with her writing style. I just feel like it might be translated, in my mind it feels like it's translated from another language, because the use of language that she uses is so, it just doesn't suit the characters. Like characters from, but you know what I mean, like characters from being like 17 years old shouldn't be speaking in Victorian English, and that's what it feels like to me. And she uses like slang and stuff which just don't sit well with me because that doesn't age very well in books, and I just found it cringe. I got about, I want to say 60 pages into the book and I just couldn't stand it anymore. It was so annoying. I just shut the book and never picked it up again, and that was a bit brutal, but that's really how I feel, and this is my opinion. So the next book I DNF'd, I think this was an accident, but I was looking for like a bunch of Colleen Hoover books, and this is one of Colleen Hoover's recommended books, and it's called 2 More Days, and it's about 1,000 pages, and it's just compilations of short stories. So it's different writers and they all got the words 2 more days, and then they ran with the idea. I didn't like it very much. I don't have the time to read 1,000 pages of random stories, like, and it just wasn't for me. So yeah, no real reason behind that. Then I have this book called Running Away from Riches that came out funny, Running Away from Richard by Chris Manby. This one I read, actually, I think it was about 400 pages and I read 300 pages of it, but it was released in like 2011. So is it 2011? I lied, 2001. That was the publishing date, and it just didn't age very well, to be honest with you. The humor was just not there. It was meant to be funny and it just wasn't there, and the main female character was just sappy and I didn't enjoy it at all. So I DNF'd it at 300 pages. Okay, the angle might have changed slightly just because my camera battery died and I just had to change it out. But the next book I have here is called Wildflower by Theresa Van Woy. This is also a memoir, but unfortunately, it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I read a lot of, like, if I'm reading a memoir or a self-published, what is it called, biography, this isn't one that I don't want to be rude, but it isn't one that I'm gravitated towards. I thought it would be something completely different than what it was, and that's all I can say about it, because again, like I said, it is a memoir and someone's story, and I don't want to slate it too much. But the next book was The Moonday Letters. I tried really hard to get through this one. Firstly, the font was absolutely tiny, but it was kind of like a futuristic look book, and it was sci-fi as well, and it just is a gripping sci-fi mystery wrapped in an LGBTQIA love story that bends space, time, and myth and science. Lumi is an Earth-born healer whose Mars-born spouse Sol disappears unexpectedly on a work trip. As Lumi begins her quest to find Sol, she delves gradually deeper into Sol's secrets and her own. While recalling her own path to becoming a healer under the guidance of her mysterious teacher Vivian, she discovers an underground environmental group called Stone Turners, which may have something to do with Sol's disappearance. Lumi's search takes her from the wealthy colonies of Mars to Earth that has been left a shadow of its former self due to vast environmental destruction. Gradually, she begins to understand that Sol's fate may have been connected to her own for much longer than she thought. Part space age epistolary, part eco thriller, The Moonday Letters is also a love story between two individuals from very different worlds. I didn't get that. Like, it was just too much sci-fi. There's so many scientific terms, even like the days, like compared to Earth and Mars, and those dates before Earth, after Earth, all this stuff, and I just, it wasn't for me. I don't want a book that I have to think too much about. Like, I want to just pick it up and kind of understand where we're going. I know sometimes with like fantasies there's words and stuff that I don't fully understand, but this was just too scientific for my liking. So I think I got about to, I want to say page 80, even maybe page 100, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Just nothing was happening. It was going around in circles and I was bored. The second last one I have here is called Careless by Kirsty Capes, and this is about a young teenager who falls pregnant. Like, she's in the foster care system and her mother gave her up because she had a teen pregnancy, and now she's done the same. But I've also read maybe 50 pages because that's kind of where I give a book to see if I like it or not. It was so repetitive. It was going around in circles and over, and she told her foster parents find out and blah blah blah. It was just too much, and I just, yeah, it wasn't for me, so I put that down. It does have a 3.9 star rating on Goodreads with 4,266 ratings, but I just personally couldn't get into it. Yeah, it says it has 0 1 stars and 2% 2 stars, 21% 3 stars. So yeah, people did like it, kind of. It's got very little 5-star, but it wasn't for me. Also, I don't like, this sounds really bad, but I don't really like books that are written like in England, put it that way, because I don't really know much. Yeah, I don't know, there's just the wording and stuff doesn't make much sense to me, so yeah, I didn't really like that one as well. So the last book that I recently DNF'd, which was kind of a week ago, is Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. The reason I DNF'd this book was I picked it up, read 7 pages, and then I did another video where I'm trying to finish like books that I've started, just to force me to read the books that I've started and just left open in my Kindle. But this was supposed to be a dark mafia romance, but it was just too dark for my liking. Lots of murder, lots of blood, lots of like depictions of like cutting people, killing people, and that's not really what I signed up for. And the way it was written was just a little bit disgusting in my eyes. So yeah, I didn't appreciate it, didn't really like it. It was kind of like a forced marriage, and yeah, I made it maybe to page 30 and I gave up because it was just too cringe for me and I didn't really like that. But yeah, so those are all the books that I rated 5 stars and all the books that I DNF'd. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful, and yeah, I hope everybody had a great 2023, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye guys.